If you've never used VDMX before, this tutorial is going to start straight from the beginning with installing it. So we're going to talk about installing VDMX6, VDMX6 Plus, some of the places where you would move the files to, and some tips for making the most out of the software. If you've never downloaded VDMX before, you can actually head over to the VIDVOX.net website and click on this link here to download the latest stable version. If you're looking to explore more or you're running into some issues, I would take a look at the forums. And you can usually find the latest version in the forums that people are using. So for example, this is 1.2.1.3. And if you download this link, it's 1.1.2.7. So a couple versions ahead. So we're going to focus on installing the latest one. So I'm just going to click download. I'm going to go ahead and put it here, which I already have it. So I'm just going to skip that process. Okay, so now that we have VDMX6 downloaded, you can actually just double click on this DMG to install it. If you're going to be installing both on your machine, I would recommend that you do the Plus version first, because if you install V6 and then install the Plus version will actually overwrite certain files and you'll have to reinstall V6 again. So it's pretty straightforward. You just double click. And the process is about the same for both of them. Then here you have this package installer. You double click on that, and then you go through and follow all the instructions for installing VDMX on your computer. So I'm just going to click agree, install. It's going to ask me for some information. Allow. We want to make sure that VDMX has access to the files and folders on this computer so it doesn't run into any errors accessing the videos or images or audio files that you want to work with. And then I click close. I'm just going to keep mine instead of moving it to trash. So the main reason why I wanted to do this tutorial is because there's a lot of extras in the extras folder that you're probably going to also want to install on your computer. So another good example, if I go to the applications folder and I look at VDMX, for instance, the version I just installed is VDMX6 Plus. I can actually right click, choose get info, and you can see right here under this version information that it's saying that it's 1.2.1.3. If I wanted to install another version of VDMX alongside of it, I could just rename this 1.2.1.3, and then I could type in my password, and then I could install VDMX6 again. So this is how you can actually have multiple versions of VDMX5, 6, and VDMX6 Plus. Now, if I move back to the extras folder that comes bundled with VDMX6 and VDMX6 Plus, you will notice that there are a number of different applications in here. ProjectMilkSyphon is great. It's just a visualizer that's free and comes bundled with VDMX6. You can also download this at a different time. There's a few different settings. Let's just find something that looks somewhat good. But this is based on Project M and the different visualizers that came with it. So if you're a fan of Winamp or the old visualizers that we used to see back in the day, this is a really cool thing just to have installed on your computer. And it also can input the different audio sources from your machine, and then it outputs the Syphon so that you can access this feed here inside of VDMX and tweak it even further. So it's ProjectMilkSyphon. We have here these VUO2, these are VDMX Quartz Composer plugins. You can install them, although newer versions of VDMX6 are going to have Quartz Composer disabled by default. So it's worth trying if you want, but a lot of the most popular versions, like the RUT Editor plugin, have been completely replaced inside of VDMX. So this is more or less for legacy users, but you can still use it. If we look at OSC Browser is a pretty good one. So let me open up something like MadMapper and just like another application real quick. Some applications use OSC Query to basically broadcast what you can control through their software. So MadMapper is a good example, because if I go over here now to the OSC Query browser and I click on MadMapper, I can see that these are all the different things that I can trigger within the MadMapper software over OSC. And if you're curious about OSC, just subscribe. I'm going to try and do more in-depth tutorials on VDMX and MadMapper. And at some point, I will definitely be getting into OSC. Likewise, there's the OSC Query Helper. So in this one. And this one will basically give you an HTML layout where you can take a look at the interface. So let's see what this looks like. So if you're looking for a way to take VDMX or some other software and make it so that there's a web version of it that you can control things with, yeah, you can do that with OSC Query. So let me quit that. We'll go back to our extras folder. MIDI OSC Query Helper. Let's do that again. This one will actually send MIDI messages over OSC Query. So also another great test app. And then the ISF Editor, which is ISF Editor. Sure, let's check for updates. No updates available, go figure. So I'm going to load the system ISFs because I have a lot of them. These are my user ISFs here. A lot of them I've created myself or I have manipulated over time. And some of them are just broken. So I'm going to load the system ones because these are the ones that VDMX is installing alongside your computer. Basically, it's selecting a video source. This cellular pattern is actually the current source. I can use my FaceTime camera, but I didn't put on my makeup. So I'm just going to leave on the cellular, and I'm going to go through these different types of ISF effects, and you can see that they have these different adjustments inside of them. Long story short, ISF is one of the types of FX plugins that are available inside of VDMX and can be used in other applications. And this is a way that we can do more with VDMX, or essentially just stack these to get the looks that we want. And if you've never seen ISF before, I highly recommend going to ISF.video, where you can learn more about the format, and it is an open source format. And then if you click on the editor here and you go to, let's go to find, you can actually see a number of different ISF shaders that other people have contributed. So this one randomly does that. And if you like it, you can just click up here in the upper right-hand corner on the zip file, and you can download it. And then you can put it somewhere on your computer. As you'll see, if I pull out on the right-hand side, there's these input settings, so I can adjust some of them. And these are also the same settings that you'll see inside of VDMX or MadMapper or anything that uses an ISF shader. So think of it as a file that contains the graphic video information or the effect information, has a bunch of settings, hopefully, that you can tweak to, or even automate in some of these instances. And then you can download it, or you can just go ahead and change the code. So, and this is a beautiful moment to say thank you to Mojo Video Tech, who is no longer with us, but left a legacy of contributing awesome stuff to a wide community of people all around the world. So thank you, Mojo. Okay, bouncing out of here. So if you want to install the ISF editor, you just double click here. And sure, it might crash, but just ignore it. We have the AVF Batch Converter, which is already installed on my machine. And this is a free app that lets you convert video files into more optimized codecs that are designed for live visuals. So long story short, there's a lot of information about codecs out there. Not all codecs are the same. Your H.264 files or something that is more of a smaller file format is designed for, or designed and more or less optimized for like web streaming. So it's designed to be a small file size, which means that your computer has to do more to like decode it in real time to give you the frames so that you can play it back. Since we're working with MadMapper or VDMX and we want things to play back in the highest quality performance, we ultimately want them to be a larger file format so that almost each image or each frame is actually like an image of itself, not just a bunch of data that your computer has to decode on the fly. That will make reversing things, remixing things, playing back very high quality files, we're talking like 16K definition movies, things like that, possible for machines using less resources. So it'll use more bandwidth coming off of like your SSD or your external hard drive or something like that, but it'll lift a little bit more off of the CPU and maybe put some more onto the GPU. So for example, if I have a media file, which I hope I have something. Okay, cool running bobsled. So no affiliation. If I drag a video file in here, I can choose the different settings. So HAP is sort of the default. Also another great thing to be aware of. Let's go to HAP.codec or HAP.video. HAP is an open source codec that is used in all these different media servers. And I say open source, meaning it's free BSD license, but you can learn more about it. It's benchmarks. There's also information on the VDMX website. You can see here's some common codecs, and it's talking about like the performance that you get out of them. So let's go back to here. So if I wanted to convert to HAP, I could just select HAP. I could choose my settings, like what quality I want to output, which we're not going to really worry about now. And then you can, change the name and then just click export. And ta-da, it just cooked out a version of this that is a HAP file. So you can also do this with H.264, ProRes, HAPQ, HAP Alpha. The choice is yours. I would recommend looking more into the HAP Codecs or reading more about it before you dive in too deep and convert all your media, but it is a very valuable tool. It's free, and yeah, you should use it if you need it. Then we're gonna go here, and if you notice that there's TouchDesigner extras, VUO extras, these, specifically VUO and TouchDesigner, only work with VDMX6 Plus. That is the Plus version of installing VDMX6. So let's go back to the website, VIDVOX. So VDMX6 is essentially a stripped down version of what VDMX6 Plus is. And by that, we just mean that VDMX6 Plus allows you to run VUO and TouchDesigner compositions. So if you're not familiar with TouchDesigner or VUO, look into it. But if you're looking for basic video playback, remixing with a bunch of different effects, or 90% of what VDMX can do, you can actually just stick with the VDMX6 version. Although if you want to go beyond the scope of what VDMX can do and integrate VUO or TouchDesigner, you can do a lot. And actually, if we click on tutorials here, click on this, here's a good example. Here's a 3D object that is an exploding pumpkin. And that's a VUO composition. So, and then there's more TouchDesigner. You'll find people, if you head over to the forums, might share some of their files. So let's just do TouchDesigner. And oh, here's this shared TouchDesigner thread. And these are the different things that people are sharing and doing with TouchDesigner inside of VDMX. So lots of cool stuff there. And yeah, if you've never heard of TouchDesigner, let's just do derivative. Maybe go here. So this is TouchDesigner. It's amazing. It's more of a node-based software, so it's a different type of workflow. But let's just say for now that you know about TouchDesigner and you're interested in it, you're going to want to get VDMX6 Plus so that you can use those files. Okay, so assuming you have installed VDMX6 Plus, if we go to Users, Library, Application Support, VDMX, and then click Open, you'll see that it says there are TouchDesigner sources, and then there are VUO FX and VUO sources. So if I click on the VUO extras, you'll see that here's examples, and it says put this one in the plugins folder, the VUO FX folder, VUO sources, VUO text sources. And likewise, there's something similar with TouchDesigner. So you pretty much just drag these files into this link. So let's look at it again. It's going to be your user folder, your username, library, application support, VDMX, and then you're just going to go down here and drag and drop things into the appropriate folder. And these are essentially just sample project files. But now that you know where to put them, if you go and download more from the forums, this is where you install them. And then let's get out of that. So let's just assume that we have installed all these things. If you want to install here, like you just drag and drop it into your applications folder. I'm just going to click replace because I already have it, but that's how simple it is to install an application from the extras folder into your main application folder. You just drag and drop. So feel free to drag and drop most of these. ProjectMilkSyphon, you're going to double click on that to install it. ISF Editor, this is a DMG file. You can tell by the little icon. Double click to install it. And then go through the steps. Okay, so now we have installed VDMX6 Plus. We will launch it for the first time. The process is the same for VDMX, so we could launch this here. It's just a different color icon. And then it's going to load. And maybe I'll just keep talking because there's no point in speeding up this video any more than we have to. So the first time that you do it, VDMX is actually going to go through all the different ISF shader files that are installed on your computer, and it's going to basically compile them and make sure that they work on Metal. And Metal is what VDMX6 is running on, which is optimized for the latest version of Mac computers and the GPU architecture within inside your computer. And if that doesn't make sense, you can just Google Metal and Apple and dive into that. Then for me, if I have VUO assets, it'll compile the VUO assets. It'll also do the same with TouchDesigner. It should only do this, the longest it'll take is the first time because it's going through and it's making sure that these files work. It should be faster and faster each time you boot VDMX because it is just making sure that nothing has changed between the files that you installed, the files that it converted, and vice versa. So, man, this has taken so long. I also think I slowed down my computer, but it's better that this video is done in real time than on some BS time. Okay, so this is, if you've never launched VDMX before and you get this interface, this is sort of how it starts. It's basically a modular software, so you can arrange it however you want. What I highly recommend you do, and the way that it might actually load, is if you click on the Help menu, open Demo Project. This is a little floating window. Whenever I go full screen, this window is going to disappear. So we're just going to shrink it down and move it off to the side. But yes, this is a sort of a simple video mixer where we have like our left side media bin, and we have our right side media bin here. And if we click on those things, it's going to trigger them on that side. So let's go back to flowers. You'll see that if something is a video, it actually has a little timeline. And if something is generative media, similar to like those ISF shaders, it should have these settings for adjusting it. And then down here, like in these FX, I won't get into it now, but this is where we might see some of those ISF effects, which you can tell by, it says .fs at the end. So whatever this is, it's a pixelate thing. Another great way to get up and running quickly with VDMX is to click on templates, and then you can choose from a long list of them which ones you want to play with and learn from. So we'll click on Simple Video Mixer. This is another example. So there's something on the left side, something on the right. Let's click here and click on Window. So let's shrink this down on my left side, and then on my right side, I have this grid. And you can see we can change some of these settings. So that's the basis of installing VDMX6 or VDMX6 Plus. The first time you install it, it might open up with the demo project. My computer is a little bit different because, as you can see, I have so many different versions of VDMX stored that I have different user preferences than you do. And that is kind of it for this tutorial. If you have any questions or things that you want to learn about VDMX or even MadMapper, just post in the comments below, and I'll try and make quick, I don't know how quick this is, quick videos like this that go into more detail about each of these things. Yeah, and if you want to find me, you can follow me. I'm also here, so, VDMX is painstakingly crafted by Ray Cutler and David Lublin. And then, yeah, I'm here supporting it. And then also on the MadMapper website, I am listed as an official certified trainer. So if you have any questions for me, please let me know. But my website is projectileobjects.com. You can follow me at projectileobjects on the lovely Instagram. And then you can do youtube.com/projectileobjects, which is hopefully where you're watching this video. So yeah, show some love, subscribe, and ask questions, because that's how you're going to get answers. Thanks.